If you're new, welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you're not, welcome back and thank you for sticking around. So today I am going to be talking about tips for landing an internship. Now, this is not just for international students. This affects both like international and domestic students. As far as we want to get an internship, which I recommend doing an internship like your sophomore and your junior year, because it's going to help you land a full-time position in your senior year. So the first tip I'll say is attend conferences. Now you might ask, oh, how do I attend conferences? Look up conferences in your field. So a lot of companies, when they come to conferences for college students, they're actually looking for people to hire from there. So it's like a job hunt when you attend a conference. My second internship, I got it through a conference. I went there that day. I had already, tried to interview for a different company. I wasn't sure I was going to get it. So that day, like it was on a Wednesday. I don't forget it. It was on a Wednesday, and then I walked up to the company that I work for right now, and I was like, oh yeah, do you guys have any spots left for interviews? And they were like, oh yeah, we have spots left. And I asked, because since it was a Wednesday and the conference was from like Tuesday to Saturday morning, I asked to get the spots for Friday so I could at least prepare, right? And then they were like, oh no, we only have Wednesday, like we only have today, right? This was by like 10 a.m. and I was like, oh my God. And I asked and they said they had for like 2 p.m. for that Wednesday. I was not prepared, right? I was not prepared for an interview. Like it was going to be a coding challenge. I was not prepared for that, but I was just like, okay, yeah, like sign me up. What's the worst that could happen, right? And they signed me up for that. I started reading about the company. I started, like looking up everything, looked up who their CEO was, looked up their latest things in the news. Then I started, like studying, because like I said, I'm a computer science major, and that particular spot was for computer science, right? So it was for software engineering. So I went and then I started, like trying to code. My class that semester wasn't really a lot of coding. I was taking this class in, I think it was finite automata. It was like a really hard class, right? But it wasn't really coding. It was more like a math class than an actual coding class. So I was just like, okay, cool. And then I went and I started reading up Leet code. I started, like looking up Leet code, started looking up HackerRank. Those of you that are in computer science might actually know what I'm talking about. So I was just looking that up, and then I was just like studying. And the thing is, by the time I think it was around 1 p.m., I had been trying to study for like 2-3 hours. And since it was so many things at the same time, and I felt like I wasn't ready, I was just like, okay, I guess whatever happens, happens. Like if I get this, I get this. If I don't get it, then I guess it's not for me. So I go in, the first round of the interview, they bring in the behavioral person. They interview me, I passed that round. I go over to the next one, and then there was a coding challenge, and that was with their senior, like lead developer or something like that for the team. And she asked me this question about like string, and she was like, yeah, sure, how are you going to solve this? And I was like, okay, I only know Python, because in my school then we're only taught Python. We are taught a little bit of C++, but not much. So I was like, yeah, I only know Python. She was like, yeah, sure, write it. So since it's kind of like an impromptu, it was more of a paper. It was written on paper. It wasn't really typing. But the thing is, if you've been coding, you have all of those things in your head. So I was just writing it. And then I gave her the solution. And she's like, oh, do you have a better way to solve it easier? I was like, no, I don't know any other. Like in my head, I was like, okay, I wasn't prepared for this. I literally just signed up for this interview this day, today. So I didn't tell her that though. So she was like, okay. I mean, at least you got something, right? And then I went and we waited for, I think like an hour or 30 minutes in the lobby. And then she called me and 3 other people back, and she was like, yeah, you guys have been given you got the position. I was like, oh my God, like I felt so happy, because the thing is, I had been applying for internship for a long time. Like I had been applying for months. I had done maybe like 200 to 300 applications. I had applied from LinkedIn, applied from Indeed, applied from Glassdoor. I was applying and applying. So I know, and it wasn't just me. I also have a friend that was also where, like, actually we both met at the conference, and we both met there, and that was the day we both got our positions, and that was actually how we became friends before she went to work for one of the big 5 companies. But yeah, so what I'll say again is, go for a conference, because like I said before, companies come to these conferences to look for talent. So and I know a lot of people that have gotten, like I said, internships from these conferences, and I am, a living witness. So yes, as an international student, go for these conferences and you definitely find something. The second thing I would say is also, apart from conferences, attend career fairs by your school. So your school's internship and professional development center, I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. But yes, your school, every school usually has this, right? It's like a career development and internship center, something like that. So your school will usually, organize a career fair, and then they would bring companies that are close by. So it's kind of like a conference, right? But the only thing is that, your school is the one organizing it, and then it's like companies that are close to your school that are usually going to come, companies maybe within, like, I want to say maybe 25 to 50-mile radius around your school that would come. The good thing is, with conferences and career fairs, it's not usually as hard. Like, the process is not usually as hard as if you're applying, when you put in your resume and they have to go through all the process. Because I know for computer science, it has, like, usually a lot of companies do like 5-step process. So, you go through the resume process, you go through the behavioral process, you do like the first coding challenge. You then meet with like the team you're going to work for, and then you do like the last, like, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. So it's a lot in the process. But usually, if you're getting hired from a conference or a career fair, it's usually a like 1 or 2-step process. You're not going to do the whole thing. Yes, the next step I would say is make sure your resume looks good. So you might have the best experiences. You might, you might have, done so many jobs. You might have done this, done that. You have a lot of skills, but your resume doesn't reflect it, or your resume is not well organized. Because I believe I read that recruiters only look at resumes for like 6 to 8 seconds, something like that. So imagine when there are like stacks of thousands of resumes and the recruiter has to go through all of them. So like, your resume has to stand out, it has to look good. There should be no typos. Also make sure it can be able to go through the ATS, which is I believe it's applicants tracking system. So if your resume, if your resume is not, like, if it has maybe, I think, like pictures or something, there are some things that can go through the ATS. So if you can't go through that, then even with all your skills, there's no need, like, it doesn't really matter if your resume is not good looking. So one thing you should also do is make sure your resume looks good, make sure it's well organized, make sure it highlights your skills, your experiences, and if you have certificates, your professional certificates and things like that, make sure it highlights all of those things. So yeah, the next tip is to update your LinkedIn. So, LinkedIn is like an online resume, and if your LinkedIn is not updated, or if it's like, it doesn't really highlight your skills, it doesn't have anything that you've done before. Because the thing is, recruiters actually, have LinkedIn Premium to look for certain people. So like, they type in like certain things into their search on LinkedIn because they're looking for certain people and certain skills. So if your LinkedIn is not updated, say for instance, you are a computer science student and you don't have anything on your LinkedIn, but you have done lots of projects, then no, please go and update it, because people reach out to other people on LinkedIn. I've had recruiters that reached out to me on LinkedIn. Even after I got my internship, I had like a lot of them that reached out to me. Even after I got my full-time, because from my internship, I got my full-time. Even after I got that, I still had a lot of people that were still reaching, a lot of recruiters that were still reaching out to me on LinkedIn. So please update your LinkedIn, because it's also a way, for you to be able to connect with recruiters. Even if, say, you have a job or something like that, even if you already have an internship, just update it, because again, you never know. Guys, this brings me finally to the end of the video. I hope it really helps you guys, because I know how hard it was for me when I was looking for internship. I had like 200, 300 applications, and it was really hard. So I hope that this helped anyone who is looking for an internship, and you can like contact me and be like, oh yeah, I got my first internship position. I really appreciate that. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and don't forget to also subscribe and follow me on Instagram.